Everyone around me was just very focused on winning medals.
Jodie Williams of Great Britain.
You're never gonna find community or find real connection if, number one, you don't know yourself, and number two, if you're putting on a front. For me, vulnerability and connection are like the biggest lessons that I have learned. They are my absolute markers of what a woman can and should be.
The 8 fastest junior athletes in the world getting set here in Moncton.
From an external point of view, everything looked phenomenal. The media had branded me as this like one to watch. I think the more perceived success that I had, the more isolated I became. For a teenage girl still figuring out who she was, like the weight of what I had created was definitely like just immense.
And they both get out well, especially Jodie Williams. Ashton Purvis challenging. Jodie Williams is out front. Williams, and out in the outside is Pinckney, but it's Jodie Williams keeping her streak going. She is a world junior champion.
You're never gonna find community or find real connection if, number one, you don't know yourself, and number two, if you're putting on a front. Childhood Jodie was strange. Yeah, I was a weird kid. Like, I was a tomboy growing up. I was so awkward, so uncomfortable, and I really struggled to like connect with my peers, especially girls my own age. I felt like people had social skills that just went over my head. Like, how are you guys doing this? Growing up when I was a kid, genuinely my grandma was my best friend. We just had such a special and unique bond. She noticed very early on that I was uncomfortable and that maybe I needed someone to actively like check in on me, and she was always that person. She was just so proud of everything that I achieved. I wanted to be a track athlete, so I went to a club. The youngest you can start is 11. I started winning like immediately, all the way up to a national level. And like for the first 5 years of my career, I was unbeaten.
I just heard him comment about, she did what? 23:07, and she's how old? 15? And it was Jodie.
So the momentum from that picked up pretty quickly, but the success was fueled by complete fear of, one, truly being seen for who I was.
It's not easy being sort of good young because you get a lot of like pressure on you and stuff.
And two, like, I didn't know who I was outside of like that feeling anymore. So if we're not winning, if we're not really, really good, if we're not perfect at everything, like, what are we outside of that? I actively detached myself from femininity. I saw it as weakness. It's a very male-dominated sport, and I was around a lot of men in my life. It had been so like wired into me that vulnerability, softness, emotion, creativity, or just sitting in that feminine was weak, and it wasn't allowed. Everyone around me was just very focused on winning medals.
The Great Britain champion, Commonwealth and European silver medalist in 2014. Well, the one thing we know about Saini of MiiR in lane 6 is that she starts slowly and then comes racing.
So I had 2019, I went to World Champs, I was feeling really good. And I had a great opportunity to make the final in the 200. I really could have been on that podium, and I didn't make it. I didn't even make the final. It was a really tough time. It really forced me to like look at myself and realize that I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like what I was putting out. I didn't like who I had become. And in that, like, I decided to make change. So I moved to Phoenix and I started hiking and connecting with nature. And I moved in with an Australian girl and a Canadian girl. They're both very girly girls. I saw what they were doing and I was like, they're so cool, they're so beautiful. This is what I needed the whole time. It just like illuminated everything that I had not been doing. And yeah, that was incredibly healing, but it made me incredibly sad at the same time for everything that I had missed out on. I think that's probably the biggest reason that I feel so passionately about creating space for particularly girls. So I started working with FemLead in 2020. The main aim from FemLead is to empower young girls to reach their full potential. We built an orphanage, and within the orphanage there's a safe house for the girls. So we support them through school and we run community projects. The way that I see the organization going is really to hand it over to the people in the community. Everything I do, I just want it to be something that people associate with softness, kindness, and rawness, I guess. I would like to say thank you to my grandmothers, both of whom are not with us anymore, but have been incredibly motivating and just pillars in my life. They are my absolute markers of what a woman can and should be. For me, vulnerability and connection are like the biggest lessons that I have learned, and just the joy that those things can really bring. I genuinely believe that's like what life is all about, is love and connection.